We start this evening in Turkey, where gunshots were fired at the U.S. Embassy in Ankara early this morning. It's the latest sign of heightening tensions between the NATO allies. RT correspondent Dan Cohen has the story.
There were no casualties and no assailants have been identified in the attack on the U.S. Embassy. But given the level of discontent among Turkish citizens after U.S. sanctions set the lira plummeting, acts of violence like this are hardly a surprise. Reports say as many as 6 shots were fired at a security booth outside the embassy. Omer Selek, spokesman for the ruling Justice and Development Party, called the incident an open provocation. Relations between the two countries continue to deteriorate as they impose tit-for-tat rounds of tariffs. The Trump administration is demanding the release of Pastor Andrew Brunson, who Turkish officials have held for nearly 2 years on allegations that he conspired in the 2016 attempted coup. U.S.-imposed sanctions and tariffs on Turkish steel and aluminum have sent the Turkish lira spiraling. It has lost more than 25% just this month. The lira devalued further Monday when credit rating agencies Moody's and Standard & Poor's announced they had downgraded Turkey's sovereign credit rating. President Erdogan sought to rally the nation behind him in his holiday greeting.
Those who think they can make Turkey give in with a plummeting foreign exchange rate after failing to break us with terror organizations, treacherous gangs, and thousands of tricks and ruses will soon see they are wrong.
On Monday, Erdogan filed a formal complaint over U.S. tariffs to the World Trade Organization. A statement on the WTO's website says Turkey claims that the measures are inconsistent with a number of provisions of the WTO's Agreement on Safeguards and the General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade in 1994. If the dispute is not quickly resolved and WTO trade judges become involved, the process may take years. Facing isolation from the U.S., Ankara is looking eastward. Turkey and Qatar have signed a currency swap agreement in order to provide liquidity and financial stability. This comes days after the Emir of Qatar pledged to invest $15 billion to boost Turkey's rapidly devaluing currency. With the Turkey-U.S. crisis only continuing to deepen, Ankara may continue to look to the east. Reporting in Washington, Dan Cohen, RT.
And for more, we're joined by former Pentagon official Michael Maloof. Always nice to have you, Michael.
Thank you.
And so what do you make of the growing tensions between Turkey and the U.S.? It seems like it's being incited from both sides.
Yeah, it's ratcheting up. The issue over the Pastor Brunson is just basically the straw that broke the camel's back in terms of the long-standing dispute that's been underway between Turkey and the United States for quite some time, and for a myriad of reasons.
So you don't think the pastor is the reason for these recent tariffs on both sides?
It's the visible reason, but they had to have a catalyst to take action against Turkey. But and also domestically, Trump is looking to his evangelicals, and he's under pressure to get the pastor released. But the problem between Turkey and the United States is much deeper than that, and it's been underway for quite some time, from the military to the economic to the political side of things. There's been a dispute. Plus, you have two very hard-headed leaders up there who are banging heads against each other, and that doesn't help matters much either.
It's interesting because, you know, the U.S., they doubled the steel and aluminum tariffs to Turkey, and then Turkey came back and also implemented tariffs. It doesn't seem that they would have as much of an impact on the U.S. Maybe it's more of a political move?
Well, yeah, Erdogan has got to show that he's standing up to the United States. He's for weeks now, he's been inciting the population with anti-American rhetoric, and in order to get the people to back him against the U.S. And in fact, I would imagine that latest attack, which appears to have been by 2 individuals, not necessarily politically connected, was part of that to show discontent with the United States. The embassy's closed for the week because of a Muslim holiday, so it didn't have all that much effect. But it shows the tensions internally, and Erdogan has helped instigate that with the local population.
And certainly, I'm sure the shooting shook up the people who were there.
there weren't too many people at the embassy. Yeah, if you're being shot at, it's no fun. I've been shot at, it's no fun. but they hit a door, and there was probably very few people at the embassy itself.
And where does NATO fall in all of this?
Well, NATO is probably watching the give and take between the U.S. and Turkey right now. NATO is not pleased with Turkey because it wants to purchase the S-400 from air defense system from the Russians, and that is actually against NATO rules. Turkey cannot be kicked out of NATO, but and Turkey does have a place in NATO in terms of as acting as a bridge for the European countries. It looks upon itself what has been more European than Eastern, but now under Erdogan it's beginning to shift more and more eastward, and that's becoming of greater concern to the NATO countries because he is looking more toward Russia, China, Iran as part of an economic deal. He has asked to belong to join the BRICS countries, which is an economic union. They can't take members yet, but the indications are there, and that was unsettling for some U.S. officials that he would go that far. But it does represent something. It represents a tilt now, particularly instigated by Trump in dropping out of the Iranian nuclear deal, of an alternative world order that's beginning to emerge now in the East and being accelerated by Trump's actions, both not only against Iran, but also all the Turkish, all of the tariffs that Trump is now imposing, not only against Turkey and maybe even Russia or China, but also against the European Union. It's really becoming a mess.
Well, but according to the World Trade Organization, they have 60 days to find some kind of negotiations for these tariffs. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens there. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Michael Maloof, we really appreciate your time.
Hey YouTube, thanks for checking out our channel. We hope you enjoyed the video. We have tons of content for you just like this. For more of RT America's one-of-a-kind news and analysis, be sure to subscribe and never stop questioning more.